begin. Round 3. All right. Welcome to A Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything, the podcast where I, your host, Kole Berzenji, will explore some of the interesting industries that surround us in our everyday lives, the organizations that inhabit them, and the more interesting people that run them. Today with me, I have Marty Stauffer. This is your third time.
Yeah.
So, Marty, introduce yourself. Where are you from and what do you do?
I am Marty Stauffer. I own Stauffer Insurance. It's a small independent insurance agency in Linden, Washington.
All right. Now, Marty, I have some important questions. I'm going to put you on the hot seat because we are going over the myths and the unpleasant truths about insurance.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out why you're ripping us all off, you insurance agents. So, number one, I'll give you an easy one. What is the one thing you hear about insurance, whether it's agents or just insurance companies in general, that just makes your skin crawl? What do they all get wrong?
I will say when we're sitting there looking at these neighborhood groups online or whatever the case is, and somebody posts out, hey, I'm looking for some insurance, which is a smart way to do it. And go out and reach out to your community and ask for help. But then the response is being, well, I'm paying this much. Well, I'm paying this much. Well, I'm paying this much. Or somebody comes to us and says, well, my friend says they're paying this much. Mm. Insurance is a shared risk. And so they have their opinions on certain things, how much their base might be. But then it's completely influenced on an individual level by driving activity, types of car that you drive, even credit in certain situations. So there's a lot of factors that make everybody different. And I don't, that one makes my skin crawl a little.
And here I thought you guys were just trying to cheat me out of my hard-earned money.
Not this time.
So, okay, insurance, we've talked about this a little bit. It seems to me that insurance agents, they're kind of on the same level as lawyers for a lot of people. We're just on an instinctual level. They don't trust them. They don't like them. They don't want to ever have to be in a place where they have to talk to one because something bad might have just happened or they got to do something they don't want to. Why do you think insurance has this reputation? Do you think insurance as a whole has earned it? And if not, who are the bad actors that you think might be responsible for it?
Yeah, Groundhog Day. Ned, whatever the guy's name was at the bottom of the stairs that he kept seeing. The insurance guy over and over. Yeah, thanks, man. That was a bad actor. But I would say overall, I never had that impression when I was younger because my grandpa was an insurance agent and then my aunt and it's been a family business for years. And so I've always seen it as, hey, people really appreciated the work that my grandpa put into them. And even tomorrow I've got an appointment with somebody that says that they want to meet me in person because they want to tell me about their experience with my grandpa when he used to be their agent.
Oh,
so
that's fun.
Those sort of things made it so that I didn't really expect that when I was getting into the industry. I think I came in going, I'm going to be able to jump in and save people money and I'm going to be great. And then I started encountering some of this, like exactly what you're talking about, the used car salesman, the lawyer, that whatever they put it in this little category. And I'm like, whoa. And it would be comments like, well, that you're out on the golf course all the time, or that you're just getting rich off of our backs, or whatever the case would be. And it's like, well, okay, that's not at all what's happening on my end. Like I'm the new one. And so, yeah, there are some that's what they get. And I do think that there's a level to specifically the older insurance agent that's been at it for a while, because you put the grind in and you're putting layers upon layers upon layers upon layers until you get to that point where you're now making a decent living. There's going to be certain people that aren't going to put in that effort anymore. And they're going to start saying, okay, well, I've done my time. Well, yeah, but you signed up your friends and family and said you'd be there for them. And so the idea of all of a sudden turning your back on them, I could see that leading to a bad reputation. I could see that not being favorable with some. Unfortunately, we get tied in with the companies as well. And the companies we represent, but like as an independent, we're sitting there representing the customer and the company and trying to make sure it's a good fit. And so we don't want to put you two on a blind date and have it blow up in our face. We really want it to be something that you guys both end up well off together. So I would say I understand where certain people have that. I would say the majority of insurance agents I know are awesome and love people, and they were the nice people in school. They were the ones that everybody said they were so nice and so kind. And no, they didn't offend people and they didn't upset people. And all of a sudden they get out in this world and they find a job where they can help people and they can assist their families and grow with their families. And I've felt the positive effect of being that nice guy growing up. So I'm not going to complain about it whatsoever.
No. Well, and that's interesting because you've talked about that before, where there's this extroverted, very social element to a lot of insurance work. And sometimes that's a bit of the work phase. It's almost a learned skill at a certain point. But there is also a lot of money in insurance, which is great for people who are in there. They could take care of their family. And in like the 2008 crisis, insurance, from what I understand, was actually pretty stable for those families, which was great. Do you think there's also a substantial amount of insurance agents that are especially cheapskates, especially greedy? Like you have your Ebenezer Scrooges and they're just disproportionately in insurance as opposed to, I don't know, nursing? Because
maybe I haven't seen them.
Really?
No, in Whatcom County, at least in this area, I've been in the industry for 17 years. And I would say I would call most of the agents in here my friends. Like they are absolutely good people who care about their clients. They care about their situation. They're putting in the effort. They're putting in the grind. I would say there's some misunderstanding as towards the reputation of an agent when it comes to that. But we are the face of the companies. And so when they do rate increases, we get to answer that phone call. When they have problems with underwriting and they want to complain, we get to make that phone call to the customer. When we're making a phone call to a customer, it's not often a pleasant situation. So I'm guessing certain people have me in their cell phone as, oh no, like it's not a great phone call to answer sometimes, but we do. And I say we as in, I would assume a good 70 to 80% of the agents locally, we care about our customers and we do care about their well-being. And I don't think we're the Ebenezer Scrooge. I think we're the nice guy. So
the lawyer's different story though, of course.
Maybe. I don't know. I've only met some nice lawyers too. So I'm sure there's stories that I'm glad I don't know.
So let's get political.
Yay.
So recently there was a killing in New York. Mm-hmm. The United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. We're not going to mention the name of the fellow who killed him. I think that gives him the attention that he was hoping mm-hmm. for. Now, I think we can take the hot topic position of saying that murder is bad.
That one's easy.
Yeah. But what was interesting was this huge welling of support for the killer. And obviously, he's in the healthcare space, and I know that's kind of its own dimension in insurance.
Yeah.
But it's revealing this really nasty, this really cynical part of just where people are at right now. What are your thoughts on people's response in that moment? Do you think that's reflective of insurance as a whole? Do you think people have that when there's people that you meet that have that thought when they're dealing with you?
Oh, geez. I hope not. I'm sure there's people out there that don't like me, but overall, I would say that I hope that they don't feel that way. The sad part about all that stuff is it's still human beings. It's still people that they don't deserve to be murdered, as we say. And a lot of people looked at this as like a Robin Hood sort of situation and steal from the rich to give. It just didn't happen. It's pinpointing a specific individual and murdering them on behalf of people that clearly feel well represented at this point. Fair enough. That person's going to have to deal with their own consequences and then they get it. It is what it is. The fact is, we've all had bad experiences with insurance over the years, and that's easy for then us to all jump into the mob mentality of, yeah, that's right. Get them. Not all of the negative is true. And when it comes to a lot of that stuff, I've joked before that you get online and you look at an ad for farmers on Facebook, and the first 2 or 3 are going to say, yeah, absolutely love it. Yep, love it. My agent's great. Everything's wonderful. And then the next 19 go on to tell about how terrible they are.
It's a whole
now
story.
You can change the name Farmers to any other company and it's going to be exactly the same way.
Right.
I would say as an agent that most of the people that have thrown that stuff out either chose not to be insured in the way that they expected that they were insured. It's a big thing for like Geico and other. They get to write their own policy nowadays. And so you jump on, you write your own policy, and then you didn't get covered for the way that you said you didn't want to pay to be covered. And now you get to jump up and scream about how terrible the company is. It's tough. It's tough. And when it comes to an independent side, there's a lot of times that we will point blank say, okay, I'm advising that you have this coverage. If you choose not to have that coverage, it's fine. But I'm going to note in the system that I told you on this date at this time, because if it ever comes out that you're throwing stuff out that, oh, I swear I wanted this coverage, I need to have it documented that I told you to have it on this date at this time. And it's amazing when you call somebody on it at that level, they tend to go, yeah, okay, I think I'd like that coverage.
Right.
It's really easy for people after the fact to blame others. Some of it's legit, some of it's not, but the reputations shouldn't make it so that an individual is now all of a sudden under attack in that. It definitely help change it, help reform, help get the right insurance commissioners elected and in place to protect yourselves in that way. I wouldn't go taking it into my own hands that way.
No, of course not. Well, one of the things that we've also seen, again, at the risk of saying something actually political, I want to try to stay as agnostic as I can. But we saw over the last 5-6 years, certain roles in society like police officers got very contentious for times. And then we saw these bursts of violence targeting people like police officers again. And my first thought when I saw the killing of the CEO, which I know there's a lot of people that have like sincerely awful stories with this one group. Maybe they're entirely legitimate. Maybe they're not. That's not my place to say. There's a lot of insurance agents though.
Yeah.
And if this does inspire, like, could we see another class of civilian be put in a line of fire in some culture war issue again?
I don't think so. I hope this isn't something that later someone goes, remember this guy? Yeah, he once said it wasn't going to happen. And now, yeah, I don't think so. I think that back to what I said about most of the people, when they get into this industry, they are getting in to help people. They're getting in there for their local neighbors. And I'd say most of the local insurance agents out there truly care about their communities and are out there putting in their time and efforts to show people that. The CEOs and the stuff like that, yeah, they're not us. They're not. So I would say we're at different stories in the same hotel. You know, they want to go and have complaints about somebody higher up. That's fair. That's up to them and they can discuss that. I didn't put them up in that top story and neither did you in that situation. So I know that, yeah, we're in the same industry, but I don't think that there's any connection when it comes to that.
Right. That's good because good heavens, I think we could all use a break from this kind of like high tension, just culture war stuff.
Yeah.
God, it's stressful. Okay. What are some red flags that we should be worried about when we go looking for insurance and we're dealing with, well, if we're dealing with an agent or if we're just dealing with an insurance company in general that doesn't have agents? What should we be looking out for?
Well, first and foremost, I wouldn't be trying to cut any corners. And I think that that's one thing that insurance is now looking for in a way they haven't ever before is they're looking for the person trying to cut a corner. Who is trying to stick it to them and they'll deny a claim in a way they didn't used to deny a claim. They'll cancel a customer in the way they used to not cancel a customer. We have a lot of people that will come to us and they're saying, okay, well, I want to take a look. And we go, first of all, we need to really review this because this is terrible. Like this is absolutely, do you know that you have the worst possible state legal limit that you can have when it comes to a policy? And the eyes, I've seen some very smart people that I've even personally known that have sat there and go, what do you mean? Like what? No, this is as bad as it gets. Like, yeah, you picked the bare minimum. And then a claim happens and they go, can you believe that my insurance company only paid out 10 grand on a $50,000 truck. Well, I sure can if I looked at your policy and that's what you signed yourself up for. So I would say the red flags when it comes into shopping for insurance is making sure that you got what you wanted, that you communicate well what's going on, and that everybody's on the same page. You don't want to sneak something through a homeowner's claim. They're now using drones to review places. And you say, yeah, no, we don't have a trampoline. Cool. And then a claim happens with a trampoline and you have $100,000 lawsuit happening. And the insurance company goes, look at this spot where you told us you didn't have a trampoline. Yeah, we're not paying. So those are the situations I would say go in prepared to be honest. And then, make sure you communicate what you actually want covered, because there's a lot of times where the assumption will get made after the fact. But if we have a communication with the customer up front saying, what would you expect if you put this thing in a ditch next week? You're just going to get rid of it and move on and get a new one? Okay, well, then we don't need comp and collision. Oh, you want it replaced? Well, then you need comp and collision. Here's how we're going to do that. And you probably need roadside because you want to get it pulled out of that ditch. And do you need rental? Well, you've got 4 cars, 3 drivers. No, you don't need a rental car unless you really want one, So yeah, we review it all once we kind of review what it is they want and need. And yeah, I think when you do it on your own online, it's a little riskier.
You're right. Now, what if I'm having a sit-down consultation with another insurance agent? What are the tells that I should be looking out for that this guy going to cut corners or he doesn't really have my best interest at heart?
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, if they're trying to cut corners, they'd be telling you to lie. They would point blank be telling you to lie.
Does that happen often?
I don't know. We don't do it. So they would likely be saying, okay, well, just you tell me you don't have this, and that's what I'm hearing. Somebody says, I've got a pit bull, and you go, oh, nope, we don't want to know that. We don't got to hit. Okay, well, now that I know it, this insurance company is probably not the right one for you, because if they figure that out, they're going to cancel you, or you're going to have a claim with that dog having bit somebody, and we're going to have clicked no, none of these dogs on premises. And now all of a sudden we've got an application that lied. And so, no, you want to make sure that you get somebody who's wanting to understand you as good as possible, as well as possible, and that is telling the truth. And if you've got somebody doing that, the rates might not always line up the way you want, but then you just stay where you're at. Like you don't have to switch because you shopped around. You shop around, you're in essence in the process interviewing the agent as well to see if this is somebody I would trust and want to work with in the future. I always say if you didn't feel comfortable walking out of that original appointment, you don't want to deal with that person when the claim comes. So
right. So we don't have to include this if you don't want to.
Okay.
I want to put you in another hot seat.
Okay.
I'm not going to make you rank them all. I'm not even going to make you rank some of the bottom ones. But if you had to give like the S tier, the best of the best insurance companies that you just love referring people to, what do those usually look like? What are some of your favorite ones?
Yeah. What's funny is an example of why things are as bad as they are right now is at one point, one of my favorite companies was Oregon Mutual. Well, Oregon Mutual went out of business when it came to personal lines because they took too big of losses. They were part of the reason that everything jumped up so high is because they took such high losses. They said, we're out. We can't do this anymore. And then all the other companies said, look what's going to happen to us if we don't get our act together. Like, we got to figure this out. But Oregon Mutual was great. They were paying everything that they were supposed to pay and then some. And that's what ends up happening is the most expensive ones are expensive because they pay out more than the typical ones. So there's kind of that, there is no golden one out there that's low on cost, but amazing on coverage. They all kind of find their way into the average is what I find. And that's why I think having a good agent is huge, because you have a situation pop up and you don't necessarily love the way that the company's handling it. You have an agent can jump up on your behalf and see what they can do to help fix it. So, I have my favorites, but it's also rotating. And my bias is a little different because yes, I'm excited about the way they pay claims, or you don't, that might lead to an opinion of mine, but selfishly, I also don't like the way that this company has a system that's hard to navigate through, and this company is difficult to get a hold of for their billing department. So, I once had to sit down with a group of 8th graders, telling them kind of what my job entailed. And I described myself as an independent agent, as sitting down at the dinner table at Thanksgiving, and I have all of my relatives that I love and annoy me equally in a certain way. And so I got my cheap uncle over here, my hot-headed one over here, the one that overspends but's in credit card debt. I've got all these different companies out there that we represent, and have a love annoyance with all of them. So
that's fair. Now, some of the carriers, I feel like we're picking a little bit on Geico and Progressive over our conversations, but it's the kind of business model. They don't really have agents the same way that the other companies do. Now, obviously, if you're going to an agent, you're going to get that personalized service. You're going to get to know who they are. They're going to get to know you, your needs, and all that. Is there ever a circumstance that you would actively recommend a client to go to Geico, to go to Progressive, to just completely avoid the agent experience? Just, you don't actually need that. That's not in your interest. Go to these other guys.
Yeah, but it's not always the greatest situations. Like, usually it's somebody that comes up to me that has taken zero accountability for the fact that they've caused 3 accidents in the last 3 years, and they can't understand why their rate's gone up even $1. And that person, we try to give them a quick education as to how it works, and tell them maybe Geico's your friend in this situation, because you're not going to want to pay where we're going to put you to properly insure you. You just want to go as basic as possible. So that person that's just trying to just meet the legal limits, there's a place for that. I mean, Geico, just click on their basic and there you go. You got what you need. They're a market that's set to take higher risk stuff. Most of the independent agents, they're looking for like good prospects, good candidates. And if you have a whole bunch of accidents and tickets, and you're not that. You're not a good prospect. You're not a good client. And in that situation, yeah, you might want to spend some years at Geico. The problem is that these companies, one of the factors they look at when you're shopping around is they look at your prior insurance history. And there's nothing impressive about having been at an online conglomerate for the last few years. There's nothing impressive about having had bad prior limits. They're looking for that person that wants to be properly insured, wants to be cared for by their insurance company. They're looking for a specific type, and they want to steal from the other good companies. They don't necessarily try stealing for the customer that doesn't seem to want to work with them. So
right. So did I catch that right? So like, if I was with like Farmers Insurance for 15 years, I had my house and my car with them. If I then decided, away with this, I'm going to Allstate. If they saw that I was with Farmers for 15 years, I'm going to get a better rate than if I was with Geico.
Yeah, then if you were with Geico for the last 2, you'd probably see a better rate. So,
interesting.
Because you've got a history and you're coming from a preferred market in that situation.
Right. So another unpleasant truth, insurance carriers, especially the bigger ones, they're not interested in a whole bunch of new clients, at least not over the last few years. How have they tried to facilitate the reducing of new clients?
Well, there's been different changes when it comes to the underwriting, which is absolutely horrible on our end. Like, we'll have one that we think is completely done, and then we click and they say, oh, well, we show from an aerial view that you have a tree too close. And you're like, no, that's a shadow. Like, we have to then jump in and try to fix things in that. So they are trying to bring in drones. They're trying to do satellite imagery. They're trying to send inspectors out a day or two after we've written the policy to like do a quick drive-by and take pictures. You know, they end up on those neighborhood sites often as a random person that drove up taking pictures. But but they absolutely have their way of kind of making sure that they didn't write something they didn't want to write. And they're dumping people in a way they've never dumped people before. So they've got 90 days when they write a new home policy, 90 days that they can cancel you for no reason. And so they quick look at it and say, well, we've found something that we're scared about and we'd like to get off of it. So that has been one of the ways they're protecting themselves. They've protected themselves through making changes for billing, you know, that this company is now only doing 6-month policies instead of year-long policies. This company is doing paid in full versus month by month. This company is now taking larger down payments, which makes it more difficult for, people just to move. Like they have to put a little more thought into it, maybe save up for it a little more, because that first month is literally going to be higher than what you were paying before. You sure you want to come? Well, the answer is yes. We probably want to work with you because you put thought into it and you're motivated and this is a better situation for you. Yeah, let's do this. So they have their ways of kind of playing hot potato with the new business, but I'm hoping that calms down soon.
Yeah, we can all hope for that. That seems like the kind of area that's just going to be ripe for AI to step in one of these days.
Don't worry. It's definitely, I know that in my time, when I first got going in insurance, the online companies were the concern. It was about 17, 18 years ago I got started, and the thought of Geico coming in was a threat. Oh, they're gonna shut down the independent agents. No, they gave us way more value because people wrote terrible policies on Geico, said, oh, if I had an agent, this never would have happened to me. All right, I'm going back to my agent. So
it's funny.
That actually, if anything, I'd say helped the independent in certain ways and took away some of the higher risk stuff that we were potentially dealing with. So no complaints there. Then they started talking about automated cars were going to be the thing. Oh, your whole industry is going to fall apart because all these cars are going to be driving themselves. Well, they got to quit hitting trains. Like, it's definitely something that's out there that they will eventually probably get it figured out, but it's not there yet. And the new one is AI and some of the stuff that they're doing there. There's something to it. There's definitely something to it. I think that companies are testing some of these things through, even when I have to reach out to a company to ask a billing question, like I'm typing stuff in and I'm getting AI answers.
Right.
Fact is, though, they're still not very helpful sometimes. So I would say, as an agent, I can say, wait a second, I didn't quite understand your question. Can you repeat yourself? And as AI, it says, yes, we're driving to Florida today. Like, it's very random and out of the blue. And so I'm hoping that I still have a value in the future.
So like, you're going on record then today, Marty Stauffer does not believe AI will replace his job.
I hope not. Yeah, no. And if so, you'll find me tending bar somewhere in a few years, but yeah.
Yeah. God, I don't know. AI, I know they talk about how AI is going to replace everything and everyone, and it's going to be replacing all the truck drivers in America in 10 years. I don't know. Insurance seems like that kind of job where it kind of needs the human touch. There are so many variables that can't be accounted for the proper way without that human touch.
Yeah. And the world's growing. So it's not like something that if a percentage of the stuff goes away because a company's kind of really nailed down the AI aspect of it, we might lose some business. And that's the case, but some people will never do that. There's still people that have a newspaper every single day with their coffee, and you could try to convince them that it's on their phone and that they can get it all these other ways, but they will never give up their newspaper if given that opportunity. So I think, at least in my lifetime, I think that the agent's going to continue in that route. If the companies don't make changes, if they don't decide they want to do this on their own, which, I would think after this last couple of years of letting us take a beating on their behalf, that they probably saw more of a value than ever with the agent. So we'll see.
No kidding. I saw a video, and this will be how we close out, I guess. But it was some fella, and he's like some tech fella. He does well for himself. And he's driving in California or something. He's trying to get to the airport. He's leaving the hotel. So I guess down there, they have this automated car service where you basically order a car, comes in, there's no one driving, it's all AI. Gets in, he's like, all right, take me to the airport. The car says, okay, pulls out, and then it turns right because it's going to make a roundabout to leave the parking lot, but then it makes another right, and another right. And then he realizes he's just going in circles. He's going around and around and around. He's like, oh, well, clearly the car is malfunctioning. Well, I can't get out of the car because it's moving, so I got to call support. It's an AI. And so he started talking to the AI. He's like, hey, the car's not working. He's like, I'm very sorry to hear all this. It's very good customer relations, very polite, not heated. He's like, okay, can you stop the car? He's like, no. He's like, can you do anything? No. It's like, what are you good for then? Anyways, I'm sure he made his flight at the end of the day, but anyways, AI's
a little dizzy.
AI's not taking over the world just yet.
Not yet.
Anyways, Marty, thank you for joining me again. We have one more conversation that will be coming out in the near future. To everyone who tuned in, thank you for watching A Businessman's Guide to Everything. Until next time, take care.
Thank you, sir.